The defiant ambassador, the Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Concordat, had stood for 12 millennia, its towering crystalline spires reaching toward the three suns of Nexus Alpha. In all that time, no uninvited being had ever breached its hallowed chambers. Until today. Ambassador Kai Mercer straightened the collar of his charcoal diplomatic uniform as the massive doors slid open before him. His copper-brown skin glistened with a thin sheen of sweat, not from nerves, but from disabling the 7 security checkpoints he'd fought through to reach this point. Behind him, the unconscious forms of Concordat guards lay in peaceful disarray. Security breach in Central Spire. Human intruder approaching the sacred chamber, announced the station's AI in 15 different languages. Kai allowed himself a small, tight smile. 200 years of polite requests had gotten humanity nowhere. Today, that changed. Inside the assembly hall, representatives from 36 spacefaring civilizations sat in concentric rings of hovering platforms. Some were bipedal and almost human-like. Others were amorphous collections of tentacles or crystalline structures housing distributed consciousness. All were considered the galaxy's elite, ancient species that had mastered interstellar travel millennia before humans had invented the wheel. The central platform, larger than the others, held High Arbiter Exenval, the eldest of the Morrigan species. Its silver-scaled body coiled around itself like a serpent, 6 eyes blinking in different rhythmic patterns as they focused on the human intruder. What is the meaning of this? Kenval's voice resonated through the chamber, causing the air itself to vibrate. How dare a lesser being violate the sanctity of our assembly? Kai walked calmly to the center of the room, ignoring the hostile stares and threatening gestures from the gathered representatives. Some species hissed or emitted noxious gases in disgust. Others watched with cold calculation. "I am Ambassador Kai Mercer of the Earth Alliance," he announced, his voice steady and powerful despite being the only human in a room of beings who considered his species little more than clever animals. For 2 centuries, humanity has petitioned for representation in this Concordat. For 2 centuries, you have ignored us. Remove this creature immediately, ordered Delegate Vrax of the Talgori Empire, his exoskeleton clicking in agitation. Its presence pollutes our sacred air. Kai reached slowly into his pocket. Instantly, dozens of weapons emerged from hidden compartments around the room, all trained on him. He smiled and deliberately withdrew a small obsidian cube. "I wouldn't," he said calmly, "unless you want the 50 cloaked human vessels currently surrounding this station to open fire." A shocked murmur rippled through the assembly. Exenval's scales shifted from silver to a dangerous red. "Your empty threats are as meaningless as your species' achievements," the High Arbiter said. "No ships could penetrate our defense grid undetected." Kai placed the cube on the floor. It projected a holographic display showing real-time footage of stealth vessels positioned throughout the Nexus Alpha system. Each ship's weapon systems were powered and targeting key points on the station. "Would you like to test that theory?" Kai asked, walking around the hologram and making eye contact with each council member. "I'm not here to start a war. I'm here to prevent one." The hologram shifted to show footage of an alien fleet, predominantly Talgori, Morian, and Vespid ships, massing near the edges of human space. "3 of your member species have been planning humanity's extinction," Kai continued, his voice hardening. "We have evidence, and we will be heard." Guards moved toward him from all sides, but Exenval raised a limb to halt them. The ancient being's eyes fixed on Kai, with an intensity that would have made most humans quail. "You violated every protocol of the Concordat by coming here," Exenval said. "Give me one reason why I shouldn't have you executed where you stand." Kai's expression remained impassive, but his eyes blazed with the collective determination of a species that had crawled from the mud to reach the stars in a mere fraction of the time it had taken the others. "Because, High Arbiter," he replied, "if I die here today, the real war begins." Kai sat in his guest quarters aboard the Concordat station, comfortable enough, though the locked door made it clear he was a prisoner. The furnishings were designed for multiple body types, The gravity adjusted to Earth normal in what he recognized as a reluctant courtesy. 6 hours had passed since his dramatic entrance into the assembly hall. He had expected immediate execution, not this strange limbo of forced hospitality. The door slid open with a whisper. 4 representatives entered, led by Xenval, whose scales had returned to their normal silver hue. "You've caused quite the diplomatic incident, Ambassador Mercer," Xenval said, each word carefully measured. "The Concordat hasn't faced such directness in over 5,000 cycles." Kai stood, maintaining the straight posture drilled into him during diplomatic training. 2 centuries of being ignored tends to inspire directness. A crystalline being moved forward, light refracting through its translucent body in patterns that conveyed meaning as much as the translated words that followed. "Your hologram showed ships positioned to attack. Is this imminent?" "No, Radiant Tholux," Kai replied, addressing the Lumidian delegate by their proper title. "Not unless I fail to return to my fleet, or a certain signal is transmitted. But the threat against humanity is very real." He activated the obsidian cube again. This time, it displayed intercepted communications, weapon schematics, and attack plans. The Talgori Empire, Vespid Hierarchy, and Morrigan Conclave have been planning humanity's extermination for 63 years, Kai said, highlighting specific sections of the data. "These are their plans. These are their bioweapons, specifically designed to target human genetics, and this is their timeline. We have less than 1 standard cycle before they launch their attack." Delegate Vrax's exoskeleton clicked rapidly in what Kai recognized as the Talgori equivalent of nervous anger. "Lies. Humans are known for their deception and paranoia." Kai smiled coldly. "Are we, or are we known for our thoroughness?" He touched the cube again. The hologram shifted to display 50 small points of light, positioned near different star systems throughout Concordat space. "What is this?" asked the 4th delegate, a gaseous entity contained within a hovering environmental suit. 50 human stealth vessels," Kai replied, each positioned near the homeworld of every Concordat member, each carrying enough firepower to reduce a planet's surface to glass. Silence fell over the room. "You're bluffing," whispered the Lumidian delegate, light patterns flickering anxiously. Kai touched the cube once more. The hologram zoomed in on one of the dots, revealing a sleek, dark vessel hiding in the shadow of a gas giant's rings. Data scrolled beside it, showing weapon capabilities and deployment options. "This one is currently orbiting the 4th moon of your homeworld, Radiant Tholux," Kai said to the shocked Lumidian. "Would you like to test if I'm bluffing?" Xenval's 6 eyes blinked in different patterns, processing the information. "You threaten the entire Concordat. This is madness." "No," Kai replied firmly. "This is survival. Humanity didn't choose this path. You forced us down it by ignoring our warnings and allowing conspiracy to fester within your ranks." He deactivated the hologram and faced the delegation directly. "My terms are simple. Investigate the conspiracy I've shown you, punish those responsible, and grant humanity full representation in the Concordat." His eyes narrowed. "Or discover if humans are really as dangerous as you've always feared we might be." Xenval studied him with ancient eyes that had witnessed the rise and fall of countless civilizations. "And if we agree to your terms, then I recall the ships," Kai said simply. "And instead of enemies, you gain 7 billion new allies." 3 days passed. Kai remained in his quarters, receiving only automated food deliveries and silent guards who seemed more interested in studying him than restraining him. On the 4th morning, his door opened to reveal a tall, slender being with iridescent skin and large, liquid eyes. "I am Zara of the Ellerin," the visitor said with a graceful gesture of greeting. "The Concordat has appointed me as your liaison." Kai smiled faintly. "You mean your leaders sent you to spy on me?" Zara's skin rippled with shifting colors, the Ellerin equivalent of laughter. "Let's say I'm here to better understand humans." They walked together through a small arboretum attached to Kai's quarters. Floating orbs provided light similar to Earth's sun, making the alien flora glow with strange, beautiful patterns. "The Concordat is taking your evidence seriously," Zara said as they sat on a bench designed to accommodate multiple physiologies. "The Talgori, Vespid, and Morrigan all deny everything, of course." "Of course," Kai replied. "But data doesn't lie." Zara studied him with those large, perceptive eyes. "May I ask you something, Ambassador? Why do you think these ancient species would fear humans? Your civilization is barely 2 centuries into space travel. The Talgori have been among the stars for 9,000 years. Kai plucked a bioluminescent leaf from a nearby plant. "Because in 2 centuries, we've accomplished what took them millennia. Our technology is advancing at a rate that terrifies them." "There's more to it," Zara said quietly. "Something few know." The ambassador raised an eyebrow. "I'm listening." Zara glanced around to ensure they were alone. "There is an ancient prophecy from the architects, the species that created the first interstellar civilization, and then vanished. They left writings that spoke of the young ones with 5 fingers and boundless determination who would one day unmake the careful order of stars." "Humans," Kai whispered. "The Concordat fears your kind not for what you've done, but for what the prophecy says you will do." Kai laughed softly. "They're trying to kill us because of some ancient prediction." "Fear makes people do terrible things, Ambassador," Zara replied. "Even across the stars." Their conversation was interrupted as the door slid open. Delegate Vrax entered, his exoskeleton gleaming in the artificial light. "Leave us," he ordered Zara, who hesitated but then departed with a concerned glance at Kai. Vrax's compound eyes fixed on the human. "I have a proposal, Ambassador, one that could end this unpleasantness." "I'm listening," Kai said, his face revealing nothing. "Withdraw your accusations. In return, humanity will be granted observer status with limited privileges. A fair compromise." "Yes." Kai stood, meeting the much taller alien's gaze without flinching. "Let me be clear, Delegate. We found your attack plans. We know your timeline. We've seen the bioweapons you designed specifically to target human genetics." He stepped closer, unafraid. "We don't negotiate with those who plot genocide." Vrax's exoskeleton darkened with anger. "You are making a grave mistake. The Concordat is ancient and powerful. And yet," Kai replied with a cold smile, "here I am. One human who has thrown your entire assembly into chaos. Imagine what billions of us could do if provoked." The Talgori delegate left without another word, but his threat lingered in the air like poison. The reckoning storm. Alarms blared throughout the Concordat station, interrupting the emergency session that had been ongoing for days. Kai was escorted into the assembly hall by 4 guards, his face grim but composed. "What's happening?" demanded Senval. A massive holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed New Providence, a peaceful human colony in the Toth City system, home to 30,000 settlers, scientists, farmers, engineers, and their families. Without warning, 7 massive Talgori warships appeared above the colony. "What is the meaning of this?" Senval turned to Delegate Vrax, who stood proudly. "We are responding to human aggression," Vrax declared. "One of our border outposts was attacked yesterday." Kai stepped forward. "That's a lie. This is exactly what I warned you about." On the display, the Talgori ships began firing on the colony. Buildings exploded. Farms and forests burned. People ran for shelter as orbital bombardment rained down. The Concordat members watched in horror as the attack unfolded. Many turned away, unable to bear witnessing such violence. "This is what the Talgori planned all along," Kai said loudly, making sure every representative heard. "The extermination of humanity, starting with our most vulnerable colonies." But then something unexpected happened. On the display, the ground around the colony split open. Hidden defense platforms rose from underground silos. The colonists, who moments before had appeared to be running in panic, moved with practiced precision to battle stations. A coordinated defense began. Energy shields activated over the main settlement. Return fire struck the Talgori ships with surprising accuracy. Impossible, hissed Delegate Vrax. These are simple colonists. Kai smiled for the first time since entering the chamber. There are no simple humans, Delegate. Every colony is prepared for war. Every citizen is trained for defense. On the display, small human ships launched from hidden hangars. They swarmed the largest Talgori vessel, attaching to its hull at specific points. Cutting tools flared. Boarding parties entered. Within minutes, the Talgori flagship was captured. The remaining enemy ships retreated, jumping into hyperspace with damage trailing behind them. The assembly hall fell silent. "Let me explain something about humans," Kai said, walking to the center of the room. "We evolved on a planet filled with apex predators. Every step of our development was a fight for survival." He looked at each representative in turn. "Our children learn to defend themselves before they learn calculus. Our farmers know how to turn agricultural equipment into weapons. Our scientists can transform medical knowledge into biological countermeasures in hours." Delegate Vrax's exoskeleton had paled to a sickly green. "You tricked us. You wanted us to attack." "No," Kai replied. "We simply prepared for the inevitable, as we've been doing for 2 centuries while you ignored our petitions." He pointed to the display, now showing human colonists securing Talgori prisoners, treating their wounds, providing water, showing mercy to the very beings who had tried to slaughter them moments before. "We've lived among predators since before we left Earth," he told the stunned assembly. "We've simply gotten better at hiding our teeth until they're needed." "We need answers," Kai whispered to Zara as they moved through a dimly lit corridor deep beneath the Concordat station. "The Concordat is split. Half believe us, half don't. We need proof no one can deny." Zara's skin pulsed with nervous colors. "The archives are forbidden to all but the highest-ranking members. If we're caught." "We won't be," Kai said with characteristic human confidence. 2 weeks had passed since the Talgori attack on New Providence. The Concordat remained deadlocked, unable to agree on a response. Meanwhile, reports came in of Talgori, Vespid, and Morrigan ships moving toward other human settlements. Here, Zara stopped at a massive door covered in symbols so ancient they had no modern translation. "I can get us in, but we'll have only 20 minutes before the security system detects unauthorized access." The door slid open silently, revealing a vast chamber filled with data crystals glowing with stored knowledge. This was the complete record of galactic history, preserved for over 20,000 years. "We need information on the architects," Kai said, "and any connection to humans." They worked quickly, Zara translating the ancient indexing system while Kai accessed the data. The crystals responded to his touch in unexpected ways, glowing brighter when his fingers made contact. "That's unusual," Zara said, watching the crystals react. "They shouldn't respond to anyone without special genetic markers." Kai ignored this, focused on the information streaming through his neural interface. "I found something. It's impossible." The data showed genetic patterns, star maps, and ancient records. As Kai processed it, his face grew pale. "We're not just feared," he whispered. "We're hunted. Humans are the genetic descendants of the architects themselves." Zara froze. "That can't be true. The architects vanished 15,000 years ago. A branch survived on Earth, evolved separately." Kai pointed to the genetic comparisons flowing through the holographic display. "The Talgori, Vespid, and Morrigan have always known this. They've been systematically eliminating any species with architect genetic markers. We're the last ones." A loud alarm suddenly blared. Red lights flashed throughout the archives. "We've been discovered," Zara said, skin flashing with fear patterns. "We need to leave now." They ran toward the exit, but it sealed shut before they could reach it. Armed guards surrounded them, weapons raised. "Traitor," one of the guards hissed at Zara, consorting with the human threat. Kai stepped in front of Zara protectively. "She was following my orders." The blame is mine alone." The guards advanced, but before they could fire, every light in the archives suddenly went dark. When emergency lighting activated seconds later, the guards lay unconscious on the floor. Standing in the doorway was a human woman in a black combat suit, her dark hair pulled back in a tight ponytail. "Commander Chen," Kai said with obvious relief. "Perfect timing. The fleet is in position, Ambassador," Chen replied, tossing him a weapon. "It's time for the contingency plan." The entirety of the Galactic Concordat had been summoned to an emergency session. Rumors spread through the station. The human ambassador had escaped custody. Information had been stolen from the sacred archives. And most alarmingly, human warships had dropped their cloaking and were now visible throughout Concordat space. When the doors to the assembly hall opened, it wasn't guards who entered, but Ambassador Kai Mercer, flanked by Commander Chen and a dozen armed human soldiers. Zara followed behind them, her skin cycling through colors of determination and resolve. "What is the meaning of this outrage?" demanded Xen Vol, coils tightening in anger. "The time for talk is over," Kai replied. "We know the truth." He activated his cube, but this time, the hologram it projected filled the entire chamber. It showed the complete genetic analysis comparing humans to the ancient architects, alongside historical records of the systematic elimination of other species with similar markers. For millennia, the Talgori, Vespid, and Morrigan have hunted down and destroyed any species that shared genetic heritage with the architects, Kai announced. "Not because of any threat we posed, but because of what we might become." A comfortable silence fell between them as they contemplated how much had changed. Humanity had gone from being on the edge of extinction to becoming a central force in galactic politics. The old order had been shaken to its foundations, but something new and potentially better was emerging from the chaos. Was it worth it? Chen asked finally. All the risk, the threats, the brinkmanship. Kai thought about the colony on New Providence, now thriving and expanded. He thought about the 17 extinct civilizations whose genetic legacies might yet be restored. He thought about Earth, no longer isolated and vulnerable, but connected to its true heritage among the stars. "Ask me in a century," he said with a small smile, "when we see what we've built together." Outside the window, ships from dozens of worlds moved through the space around Nexus Alpha, some ancient and stately, others new and innovative. Among them, easily recognizable by their distinctive design, were human vessels, no longer hidden, no longer threatening, but still vigilant. One captain, one council, one spark that had not destroyed the careful order of stars, but transformed it into something brighter and more just. The story of humanity among the stars was just beginning.